The purpose of this video is to step you through the evidence checklist for the BSB51918 Diploma of Leadership and Management, so that by the end of the video you'll have a good understanding of the evidence requirements and how to go about putting that evidence into some folders. So as you can see here, we've got the checklist. It's divided into a number of numbered sections, a total of 10 numbered sections, and what you'll end up doing is creating 10 different folders on your computer, which you can then share. What we're looking for overall is approximately 40 to 60 individual pieces of evidence in total, and that will be able to cover off the requirements. So if we have a look at the sections themselves, divided into different aspects or different topics. So personal information is the first section. Your resume and position description is really important. I guess the resume and position description help to build a picture of your work history and experience, both in the past and your current position description, to give the assessor an idea of the kinds of evidence that you would be generating in the workplace. Copies of previous qualifications, training reports on yourself, and any leadership style questionnaires that you've completed, or indeed any other leadership or management training that you've done, all helps to build your body of evidence. And then we look at some of the other areas in a little bit more detail as well. So people leadership, this is a core element of the leadership and management qualification. Particularly performance reviews conducted by you. Now, the format themselves doesn't really matter, but what we're looking for here is your ability to, I guess, coach others, find out were they able to perform at the required level, and how you go about giving them a plan to improve their performance. One of the common questions asked is that might be commercial and confidence information. Of course, we're not interested in the name of the person that you have done a review on, so feel comfortable to redact or black out the name, address, other identifying information. However, the content of the review, the words that you said and that they said, that is important. So just an empty template is not sufficient evidence. We really need to see how you went about working out, did they do the work or they didn't do the work, and how you've then coached or mentored them or created a plan to help improve the performance if indeed that was the case. Formal or informal, they can be file notes, feedback, counseling notes, all of that is useful. It doesn't have to be a specific template of a performance review. Templates are available from KnowledgeAccess as well. And then contextualizing that performance review itself. There may have been some emails back and forth to other stakeholders as well. Meeting agendas where the performance is discussed. So we really do look at that evidence holistically. The evidence of your ability to coach others where performance has not met the desired outcomes, this is really critical of the diploma level qualification. Position descriptions of the team, that's really important as well when we're setting and helping to drive team effectiveness. Now, these don't have to be ones that you have created. Certainly, if you have created position descriptions, that is very useful as well. But position descriptions of your direct reports, that can be very useful. If you've conducted recruitment, all of those aspects can be useful as well. Company nominations, you may have given praise to staff members, you may have nominated them for internal awards. Any of those documents, very useful as well. If you've conducted team building events, things like photographs of whiteboards, very, very useful. Any of those brainstorming activities. Workload and time management. So this is a real low-hanging fruit one. Copies of screenshots of a calendar. If you use Outlook or Google Docs, Just a screenshot of that is fantastic. Even a picture of your diary, if you use a diary or a calendar, like I have this old school calendar on the wall. If you're using that to plan your days and months, feel welcome to submit a photo of that as evidence. These are all planning documents. You may make daily to-do lists. That's fantastic as well. Any other strategies you use for managing your time and workload? Operations, this is another core element. So an organizational chart helps to contextualize how you fit in the organization, in the chain of command. Operational plans, so these are the plans that you may use or you may have developed to work out what work actually needs to be done on a daily basis. Operational plans, they can be the agenda of a toolbox or a daily huddle. That's perfectly legitimate operational plans. Strategic planning documents, so the documents that you use to work out what is the larger amount of work that needs to be achieved over a year or more. Rosters, typically the diploma level candidate is in charge of the roster, so that's working out how we're going to get that work done, who is going to do the work, and over what time period. That leads into workforce planning. They tend to be larger or longer scoped rosters. Performance reports, how are we tracking that the work got done? You know, we make the plan, this is what the work needs to be done. We tell our team that this is the work that needs to be done. How are we then measuring that? It might be dashboards, it might be in the daily toolbox or huddle or daily or weekly meeting. We might review what work got done in the last week. The notes from that meeting, fantastic evidence. Data pertaining to operations, so these can be dashboards. You might use Clipfolio or some other kind of dashboard system. A screenshot of that is fantastic. Risk assessments relating to operations, so these can be things like site inductions, daily checklists, all fantastic evidence. Communications, well, clearly leadership and management, one of the core aspects is communications, and so this will be things like capturing the communication email strings, a great way to do it, whether that be internal, external, up and down the chain of command. Meeting agendas and meeting minutes. Once again, a template really doesn't suffice. We want to see in the minutes, what are the action items? What was discussed? What are the action items? Ideally, with the candidate having some action items. There might be some PowerPoint presentations within those meetings. That's great. Memos, larger organizations still use memos. It might be what we're talking about here is something that you've sent interdepartmentally, let's say. Communication briefs and communication plans. Once again, these might be plans that we're sending not to an individual, but to a team, your team or another team, about progress, about what's going to happen. One of the questions that is often asked is audio and or audio-visual recordings, are they able to be submitted as evidence? Yet fantastic. You know, we're now using online platforms like Zoom or Skype or TeamViewer, Microsoft Teams, and so on. A screenshot or a recording where it's appropriate and you have gained consent from the others. Once again, feel comfortable to redact or black out names. We don't need to identify who people are, but a recording is great evidence that in fact communication has occurred and also what that communication was like. Continuous improvement, so we're starting to move into possibly some elective type areas, although continuous improvement really can be that daily report. You know, this is what happened, this is how we hope to improve what we're doing on a daily and weekly basis. Planning documents for continuous improvement activities. You know, so if you are doing a weekly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly report, typically in that report you'll identify areas for improvement. Great evidence. If you are conducting a continuous improvement activity, reports pre and post that improvement, that's going to help give context to what that improvement looked like and if it was successful or not. Change management documents, so if it's a significant continuous improvement initiative requiring some significant change, whether that might be improving a process flow, how you go about doing things, how your team goes about doing their activities, it might require an actual change management plan and approval from other stakeholders. And then, of course, communication about those changes. Training and education. So this more pertains to training that you've delivered. So if you've delivered training, any training plans, PowerPoints, handouts, all of that is fantastic evidence. Training reports for your team. So you might be responsible for your team completing training activities as a compliance or continuous improvement. There might be a training matrix that you're responsible for. A copy of that's fantastic. Once again, so this might be an elective for some candidates, risk and workplace health and safety, depending on what your role is. Most of this will be self-explanatory if you are indeed in an industry, mining, construction. You'll be very comfortable with risk registers, risk assessments, JSAs, JSEAs, SWIMs, and so on, safety reports. One thing now that nearly all of us will be working from home, ergonomic assessment. So an office checklist, a workplace desk audit, that is something that is something that we should all be doing now, and great evidence to show that you're managing workplace health and safety in your own home or home office. Once again, templates of these are available. Some leaders and managers will be responsible for finance aspects, so that'll be things like responsible for managing a budget, even if it's just an expense budget. Now, working from home, this will be something that a lot more people are doing as well. Profit and loss statements. If you're a store manager, you might be reviewing profit and loss statements. So what we'd be looking for here is your ability to interpret a profit and loss statement. So not so much just supply a profit and loss statement, but explain, I guess, the impact of different aspects of the spreadsheet itself. Screenshots of approval. So this might be things like expenses. Typically a diploma level person will be, I guess, responsible for aspects of a budget or P&L, and that most typically would be an expense budget. Sales and marketing, once again, this would be an elective for most candidates. Sales and marketing reports, customer service policies and procedures. Now, whether these are things that you've developed, contributed to, or are responsible for implementing, customer feedback surveys, customer complaint handling, marketing plans and strategies, and advertising plans. So that's an overview. What you would then do, the first step, create a folder, Campbell Elton Diploma. Then within that folder, I've then created subfolders with each of those categories. And then the next step is just to go and find your resume, update your resume. If you don't have a resume, a few paragraphs on your work history and experience, and so on and so forth, and name those documents and pop those into your folder. And there we have it. That is a brief overview of the evidence checklist and how to go about creating some folders and then sharing that with your assessor.